J-Div is back at it here to give everyone a Chicago Bulls-related video. As most of you know, I'm a big-time Chicago Cubs fan. I've done multiple videos discussing the Chicago Cubs. This particular video, I'm going to be discussing my favorite basketball of all time, and that would be the Chicago Bulls, as they made a lot of news during the NBA bubble. Obviously, they didn't make the bubble, but they've made a lot of news. They've made a lot of changes in their front office, and I feel it's time to talk about them. So what I'll do is I'll talk about the front office changes, I'll talk about the roster in general, and possibly options for the Bulls in the offseason, or guys they could go after, plus their draft. So let's start off. Garpax is no more, although technically John Paxson is still with the Bulls in some capacity. I think he's like a scout guy for the draft or something like that. Gar Forman, done. John Paxson in a vice president of basketball operations role, done. And now we have Arturas Karnisovas as our vice president of talent, or vice president of basketball operations, and he should do a damn good job. I suspect that all the big free agents will now at least pay a visit to the Bulls and see if that would be a suitable option for them when they hit free agency. And now we have a new general manager. It's Mark Eversley. I don't know a lot about him. He's been with Arturas for a while. He should be good, though, better than what we had. We also have a new coach. No more Jim Boylan. We have Billy Donovan. Billy Donovan has been really good since he came into the NBA. He was a winner at Florida, and he's been a winner at OKC since he got there. He started with Durant and Westbrook and ended with just Chris Paul, and that might have been his best coaching job. And it can't be any worse than Jim Boylan. I mean, I was looking forward to a Wes Unseld Jr. Coaching regime, but because his defense and like his master defensive schemes. But we've already tried the guy that has no coaching experience other than assistant coach. And Tom Thibodeau, they work good, but we need to go a different route. And Billy Donovan, I think, will be a better offensive-minded coach while still, having good defense as well. So that's good for our front office. We have all those new positions, and I think we're going to be good. Now, as far as what our assets are on our team, I'll talk about the draft. We have the 4th pick in the NBA draft. I don't remember when the draft is, October or maybe November. A lot of people want the Bulls to go with Denny in that particular position. I don't think he's worth the 4th pick, and honestly, I don't know what his ceiling is. He's an okay role player, but I want a guy that has a higher ceiling. So if I was the general manager, and I think this is who they're going to pick, I would go with Obi Toppin. Just from highlights I've seen of Obi Toppin, he could be really good. He's not the best defensively, but we don't necessarily need all great defensive players. We have 2 or 3 on the floor at one time, and then like a Zach LaVine and Obi Toppin, I think we'll be good. Now, I think Zach LaVine is actually better at defense than people give him credit for, but whatever, it is what it is. So Obi Toppin would be the guy that I would pick. He's got an NBA body already. He can guard guys like LeBron and KD and Giannis. So that would be who I would pick. Now, as far as our roster construction goes, I'm going to go over the guys that are on the roster. Some of the people might even be free agents, but I just want to touch base on this particular roster. So we have Adam Makoka. He's a guy kind of like Zach LaVine, doesn't really play defense, but has loads of offense, and he can score a lot of points in a short amount of time. He is a free agent right now. I wouldn't mind bringing him back under like a D-League deal where we could put him in the D-League whenever we want. He's a good player to have, and he plays shooting guard, so that would be a guy that I would hold on to if the price is right. Daniel Gafford, we've got him signed for at least 3 more years. He's going to be possibly our starting center going forward. Possibly. I like Gafford. He's great defensively, and he's got good offensive. He's good at catching alley hoops, and he's got, good athleticism for a big man. I don't like Gafford's. He's great defense, but the problem is he can't play defense without fouling. He commits a lot of fouls in a short amount of time, and he needs to work on that. That way we can keep him on the floor longer than 5 minutes at a time, because in those 5 minutes he's already picked up 3 fouls. Shaquille Harrison. I like Shaq Harrison. I think he's really good. He's a good role player. He's kind of like Chris Dunn. Slightly better offensive game, and maybe Dunn's got him beat in defense, but I would keep him, especially if he only wants like $1.7 million again or something along those lines. I would keep him and hold on to him because he's a good bench guy. And he can start. He can play 3 positions. He can play small forward, even though he's undersized, shooting guard and point guard. And, we had Keith Bogans one year start for us, and he's not that great. So Shaq Harrison, I would hold on to him. Max Strus, he's a guy that got injured last year toward the beginning of the season. I wouldn't bring him back simply because he's a free agent. He had a major injury, so that's what I think about him. Chandler Hutchinson, he is a small forward for us, and our small forward position has been rocked by injuries lately. I would not bring Hutchinson. Well, he's not a free agent. He's got 2 more years left on his deal after starting into next season. If we can trade him and somebody wants him to get us a bigger piece, then I would go that route because he's just missed way too many games early on in his NBA career. Here's a lot of guys' favorite folk hero on the Chicago Bulls, Ryan Archie. I know what his name is, but sometimes I just kind of forget it. It's Ryan Arcidiacono. No, Ryan Arcidiacono. He got a lot of playing time when he probably shouldn't have because the Bulls have so many injuries. And he's not bad. It's like your third point guard that, like your 12th man sort of role. If we can get somebody else in return for him, because he's got 2 years left on his deal, and he makes about $3 million, probably a little bit more going forward. If we can package him with some other players to get a better player, I would be fine with trading him just due to the fact that he probably shouldn't be as good as he is. Or people should know about him because we've had so many injuries that we've had to actually expose him and play him a lot more than he should have. So that's what I think about him. Denzel Valentine, he's a free agent. Denzel, he has these moments where he's really good, but injuries just kind of hamper him. And I wouldn't bring him back unless you can get him for really cheap, and it would not be a multi-year deal, a 1-year deal with maybe incentives. Wendell Carter Jr. Now, he wants to play the power forward position going forward, and I think that's better. He's like 6'9.5", 6'10". We got him for 2 more years. I like him. He's good defensively. He doesn't do a lot offensively. He gets double-doubles, but it's nothing like 20 and 15. I'd keep him there if we might be able to move him to a bench role, possibly, depending on who we go after in the offseason. That could be something, but Wendell Carter Jr. is solid. And he's good. He gets a block and a steal a game and like 3 assists. And then, he's good for 10 rebounds and 10 points typically. Sometimes he gets 15 points too. So he's a good player. Lauri Markkanen. So we got him for 1 more year. I don't know what kind of contract he wants, but I don't want to pay him a boatload of money. If we can trade him for another player, maybe like a sign-in trade, I would do that. I mean, he wouldn't be bad as a starting small forward or starting power forward. That means, obviously, Wendell Carter Jr. would be on the bench. That's not a bad idea, though. But Markkanen has had really good moments, and then these moments where he looks lost on the court. And that might have something to do with Jim Boylen. He's not there anymore, so I expect Lauri Markkanen, if he plays a game with us this upcoming season, to look really good. Coby White. We have Coby White, obviously, for 3 more years at least. Coby White might get a starting role this year. I almost would leave him on the bench because I have a different guy I want in the starting lineup. But Coby White looks pretty good. He played a lot of games too, and he looked really good toward the end of the season once they shut everything down. So Coby White, good player. Here's the guy that I want the Bulls to use more of, Chris Dunn. I know a lot of people hate Chris Dunn because of his offensive game. He's a free agent this year, but we can match any deal he gets. As long as he doesn't sign a crazy deal. Like, I pay Dunn $15 million a year, and that's about where I'd go right now at this point. But I think his defense is so good. He almost made the all-defensive team. That is crazy. Dunn is a good player, and I don't want to part with Chris Dunn. I'd rather part with LaVine. As strange as it may sound, I would rather part with LaVine. I just really like Dunn. Obviously, LaVine's looked amazing since he joined the Bulls. But Dunn is... he's looked good at times. And then he gets hurt. Like when he fell on his face and broke his tooth, That's why I want to keep Dunn for the long haul. So now we have Cristiano Felicio. He's still with us for 1 more year. He makes close to $9 million, and I hope we get rid of him. No matter what, this was one of the dumb signings when the salary cap went up. But there wasn't that many good free agents. So these minor guys like E'Twaun Moore and Cristiano Felicio got like huge deals that they didn't necessarily deserve. I would trade him at all costs. If there's a trade that we can get him going, whatever we have to do to get rid of him, that would be fine by me. Tomas Satoransky, his contract isn't bad. He makes approximately $10 million for 2 more years. Obviously, he's a guy that we just have too many guards in our line with Levine, Kobe White, and if we get Dunn back, that he would be the odd man out in my opinion. And if we can trade him for a better talent, I would do that. And I will speak of that talent in just a moment. Thaddeus Young. I actually like Thaddeus Young, but it's the same point. We have too much depth at forward with Wendell Carter Jr., Lauri Markkanen, and then at center with Daniel Gafford. If we can trade Thaddeus Young and maybe a package to get a better player, I would do that deal. And then the last two guys on the roster, Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine's awesome. I don't want him traded at all, but if it comes down to getting rid of Dunn or LaVine, I probably don't want LaVine to go either, because I think LaVine is really improved, and I think he could be really good defensively too, or at least adequate defensively. They make a lot of... He can't be that bad defensively, is he? I don't know, but LaVine has been awesome with the Bulls, and it's good to see him grow and progress. And then we got Otto Porter Jr. Now, a lot of people who have are not happy with Otto Porter Jr. I like Otto Porter Jr. He's a good 3-and-D guy. He can guard guys like LeBron James, Giannis, and Kevin Durant. And he hasn't stayed healthy with the Bulls, but if he could stay healthy, he's a guy I would want to at least keep for the rest of this. He's got 1 year remaining on his contract. I would keep him for the rest of the season, then maybe talk to him like, we can't pay you $25 to $27 million, but if you want to go with like $15 million, we might be able to hold on to you and have you keep you at our starting small forward, possibly. So I would keep Otto Porter Jr., but I would make some trades. Now, trades the Bulls could make. Now, there's one that sticks in my head. I don't know how they would do it and what OKC would want, but obviously Billy Donovan and Chris Paul worked really well together, and Chris Paul could potentially be the difference maker. So I would try to acquire Chris Paul. I would send the Thunder Tomas Satoransky, Cristiano Felicio, and Thaddeus Young, and maybe like a 2021 first round pick, and see if that will do it. If they even have to go that route. But all those guys, some kind of deal to get Chris Paul. I know we'll have a lot of guards, with Paul, LaVine, and then Dunn and White if we re-sign Dunn. But I think Chris Paul would be a huge addition. He's going to make a lot of money, but he's only signed for 2 more years. Or is it 1 more year? We can handle that, I think. If somehow, some way we can get a true center like Joel Embiid from the 76ers and maybe just give up like Lauri Markkanen and then maybe a couple other role players like Ryan Arcidiacono or a Chandler Hutchinson or Luke Cornett, that's a trade we should do as well, because I think we have like a lineup of Embiid, Wendell Carter Jr., Otto Porter, Zach LaVine, and Chris Paul. That would be awesome. I don't know if the salaries would all match. We might not have enough money to do that, especially if we bring back Dunn. But I want them to bring back Dunn at all costs, at least for 1 more year. I want to see at least 70% of the games played for Dunn to see what he can do with that much of a workload. And then if he still doesn't look that great offensively, then we can let go of Dunn. But I would keep Dunn. So I'm liking the moves that we're making. I like the addition, of course, of our tourists, Karnisovas, Mark Eversley. Billy Donovan is going to be great for us. I think we're going to be the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference as early as next year. If we draft Otto Porter, if we draft Denny, whatever, I think Otto Porter... I just said Otto Porter. If we draft Obi Toppin, he's going to be good, I think. I've liked the highlights I've seen of him. Denny is decent, but I don't see a very high ceiling for him. But who knows what Arturas is going to do. It's his decision, not mine. So, yeah, if you're a Bulls fan, if you have any comments, leave them in the comment section. Sub to the channel. Smash that like button, especially if you're a big Bulls fan. The more people that... react to the content, I could do more Bulls videos. Otherwise, it's kind of like, what do I feel like talking about today? Well, I've done this TV show for 9 days in a row. Let's change it up. So, thanks for listening. And, of course, J-Dev will return.